Potter profile on Draco Malfoy Part 2, a Cast Aspell series. In 1995, Draco was made a Slytherin prefect alongside Pansy Parkinson. He couldn't resist teasing Harry Potter for not getting the same title, since Gryffindor's prefects were Hermione Granger and Ron Weasley. When the Quidditch season at Hogwarts had started, Draco wrote a song called "Weasley is Our King," which made fun of Ron's skills as a Quidditch keeper. His insults were towards Ron's parents, Molly and Arthur Weasley, as well as Harry's late mother, Lily Potter, which led to a confrontation with Harry and George Weasley. In the ensuing fight, they physically attacked Draco, which resulted in Harry and George, along with George's twin brother Fred, being banned from playing Quidditch by Dolores Umbridge. However, their bans were eventually lifted after Umbridge was removed from her position at Hogwarts. Later that year, Draco joined Umbridge's inquisitorial squad, which made him feel important and powerful. He loved the authority it gave him over other students, especially Harry and his friends.
"Afraid I'm going to have to dock a few points from Gryffindor and Hufflepuff," he drawled. "It's only teachers who can dock points from houses, Malfoy," said Ernie at once. "Yeah, we're prefects too, remember," snarled Ron. "I know prefects can't dock points, Weasel King," sneered Malfoy. Crabbe and Goyle sniggered. "But members of the inquisitorial squad—" "The what?" said Hermione sharply. "The inquisitorial squad, Granger," said Malfoy, pointing towards a tiny silver eye on his robes just beneath his prefect's badge. "A select group of students who are supportive of the Ministry of Magic, hand-picked by Professor Umbridge. Anyway, members of the inquisitorial squad do have the power to dock points. So, Granger, I'll have 5 from you for being rude about our new headmistress. Macmillan, 5 for contradicting me. 5 because I don't like you, Potter. Weasley, your shirt's untucked, so I'll have another 5 for that. Oh yeah, I forgot. You're a mudblood, Granger, so 10 off for that." Ron pulled out his wand, but Hermione pushed it away, whispering, "Don't!" "Wise move, Granger," breathed Malfoy. "New head, new times. Be good now, Potty. Weasel King." Laughing heartily, he strode away with Crabbe and Goyle.
All members of the inquisitorial squad were from Slytherin because Umbridge preferred students from her own house. Draco Malfoy took great pleasure in this, especially when he caught Harry leaving the last meeting of Dumbledore's army and reported him to Umbridge, earning 50 points for Slytherin. Later, Draco and the squad captured Harry and his friends while they were trying to find out where Sirius Black was. Harry had seen a vision of Sirius being tortured by Voldemort. Harry, Ron, Hermione, Ginny, Neville and Luna were all taken to Umbridge's office, guarded by Draco and the other squad members. Just as Umbridge was about to use the Cruciatus curse on Harry to make him talk, Hermione quickly told her they were reaching out to Albus Dumbledore about a weapon he intended to use against the Ministry of Magic. Hearing this, Draco's eager and greedy expression convinced Umbridge not to let him or anyone else from the squad join her when she took Harry and Hermione into the Forbidden Forest to look for the weapon. After Umbridge left, the remaining members of Dumbledore's army quickly used stunning spells and disarming charms to escape her office. Ginny successfully hit Draco with her bat bogey hex during the commotion. Meanwhile, Umbridge was taken away by centaurs, and the 6 DA members flew to the Ministry of Magic, where they became involved in the Battle of the Department of Mysteries. During the battle, Draco's father was seen fighting as a Death Eater and was later imprisoned in Azkaban for his actions. This deeply upset Draco, who blamed Harry for his father's fate. At the end of the school year, he tried to attack Harry with the help of Vincent Crabbe and Gregory Goyle. However, other DA members rushed to Harry's defense, casting spells that transformed Draco, Crabbe, and Goyle into hideous, slug-like creatures, much to everyone's amusement. By late 1996, Draco Malfoy became a Death Eater after his father was imprisoned. On the Hogwarts Express, he boasted to his Slytherin classmates about being given a special mission. However, as the school year progressed, Draco grew more and more anxious about his daunting task: killing Albus Dumbledore. It was suggested that Voldemort expected Draco to fail, having assigned him the mission partly to punish Lucius Malfoy for his earlier mistakes at the Department of Mysteries. Draco felt immense pressure because his family's safety depended on his success. When Harry overheard Draco talking about this mission with other Slytherins, Draco retaliated by using a full body bind curse to paralyze Harry. In a fit of anger, he stomped on Harry's face, breaking his nose. This act deepened Harry's hatred for Draco as he dismissed Harry's knowledge of the mission as unimportant. Draco intended to fix a vanishing cabinet that Peeves had broken 4 years earlier. His goal was to use it to sneak Death Eaters into Hogwarts to help him kill Dumbledore. The previous year, a Slytherin named Graham Montague had been trapped in the cabinet by the Weasley twins and managed to escape by apparating out of it. While he was stuck, Montague heard sounds from both the cabinet at Hogwarts and its twin at Borgin and Berks. This made Draco realize that if he repaired the damaged cabinet, it could serve as a secret passage into the school. During the summer, between his 5th and 6th years, Draco spoke to Borgin, the owner of Borgin and Berks, about fixing the vanishing cabinet. He made sure to instruct Borgin to keep the other cabinets safe. To show his loyalty to Lord Voldemort, Draco revealed the dark mark tattooed on his arm and threatened Borgin with Fenrir Greyback if he failed to obey. This conversation was overheard by Harry, Hermione, and Ron. While Harry began to suspect that Draco was involved with the Death Eaters, Ron and Hermione dismissed his concerns, thinking Draco was just trying to appear tough. This would later turn out to be a mistake they regretted. As Draco focused on fixing the vanishing cabinet, he went through several noticeable changes in his life. He seemed to lose interest in Quidditch and let Harper take over, possibly even paying him to do so. His schoolwork also suffered. He missed 2 transfiguration assignments and ended up with detention on the day of the Hogsmeade weekend trip. Additionally, he ignored his responsibilities as a prefect, which he usually enjoyed abusing the previous year. Another significant change was his growing distrust of Snape. Draco no longer respected him and openly spoke negatively about him. Draco became more distant from his friends, Crabbe and Goyle. He made them use Polyjuice Potion to transform into different people so they could help him keep an eye on the Room of Requirement. But he didn't share any information with them. He also spent less time teasing Harry and his friends, even when he had chances to do so. The stress was taking a toll on him. He looked worn out with graying skin, weight loss, and dark circles under his eyes. This change frustrated Harry, who was determined to figure out what Draco was planning, but couldn't get any answers despite his efforts. During the school year, Draco became very anxious about fixing the cabinet. In his desperation, he tried to kill Dumbledore twice. First, he attempted to sneak in a cursed necklace, and then he tried to send poisoned mead to him. Unfortunately, both plans failed and ended up hurting innocent people. The pressure started to take a toll on Draco, and he opened up about his fears to Myrtle Warren, a ghost at the school. One day, Harry found him while he was talking to her. In a panic, Draco tried to cast the Cruciatus curse on Harry, but just before he could finish the spell, Harry cut him with his wand. This injury led to Draco being hospitalized, and as a result, Harry received detention from Snape every Saturday until the term ended. After a lot of hard work, Draco finally fixed the vanishing cabinet and used it to let 6 Death Eaters into Hogwarts: Corbin Yaxley, Alecto Carrow, Amicus Carrow, Gibbon, Thorfinn Roll, and the dangerous werewolf Fenrir Greyback. He then made his way to the top of the astronomy tower, where he found Dumbledore, who was much weaker than usual. At that moment, Draco disarmed Dumbledore, just as Harry Potter was caught in a full body-bind curse, unable to move. By disarming Dumbledore, Draco also unknowingly became the true master of the Elder Wand, one of the 3 powerful Deathly Hallows. When Draco was finally in a position to kill Dumbledore, he hesitated. Dumbledore had just offered protection to Draco and his family if they chose to join the Order. Draco lowered his wand instead of casting the deadly spell. At that moment, Severus Snape, who had made a vow to protect Draco if he failed, stepped in and used the killing curse on Dumbledore. Afterward, Snape quickly led Draco away from the school, seemingly to safety, but actually to a location where they could disapparate to meet Lord Voldemort. After the Battle of the Astronomy Tower, Draco could no longer go back to Hogwarts. He had played a part, even if unwillingly, in Albus Dumbledore's murder because he allowed the Death Eaters to enter the school. This made him a criminal, and he feared Voldemort's anger, so he fled with his family to seek refuge with the Dark Lord. They hoped to meet his demands and avoid more trouble. Draco's sudden exit left Vincent Crabbe and Gregory Goyle feeling surprisingly lonely, even though they were tough-looking boys, as Harry noted during Dumbledore's funeral. Draco was reluctantly involved in Death Eater activities as the 1997-1998 school year began. Because of his help in Dumbledore's death, Voldemort freed Lucius Malfoy from Azkaban. Draco witnessed the murder of Charity Burbage and was ordered to torture Thorfinn Rowell by Voldemort. Later comments from Vincent Crabbe suggest that the Malfoys had lost much of their power within the Death Eaters. This shift was due to Voldemort no longer favoring Lucius and instead supporting Draco's aunt, Bellatrix Lestrange, and Severus Snape, the new Hogwarts headmaster. When Thorfinn Rowell and Antonin Dolohov couldn't catch Harry, Voldemort made Draco torture them with the Cruciatus Curse as punishment. He threatened Draco with severe consequences if he didn't obey. Harry, who could see this through his connection to Voldemort, felt sickened by how the Dark Lord was coercing Draco into committing such an act. Draco was in his 7th year at Hogwarts that year. During the Easter holidays, he was at home in Malfoy Manor. His parents and Aunt Bellatrix Lestrange asked him to confirm the identities of Harry, Ron, and Hermione, who had been captured by Snatchers led by Fenrir Greyback. However, Draco hesitated a lot before answering. After torturing Hermione, Bellatrix still thought Hermione was lying about Godric Gryffindor's sword. To confirm Hermione's story, Draco was sent to get the goblin grip hook from the dungeons. Later that evening, Harry, Ron, and Hermione managed to escape, and during the chaos, Harry took Draco's wand. Afterward, Voldemort captured Draco and his family and brought them back to Malfoy Manor. Narcissa gave Draco her wand, which was powerful but hard for him to use since he hadn't earned its loyalty. Later that year, during the Battle of Hogwarts, Draco, along with Crabbe and Goyle, decided to stay at the school while the other Slytherins evacuated. They wanted to bring Harry Potter to Lord Voldemort. Draco likely hoped to redeem his family's reputation in Voldemort's eyes, especially after his father's comments about forgiveness. He followed Harry, Ron, and Hermione into the Room of Requirement, planning to capture Harry and find the item Harry was searching for. However, Draco had lost some control over Crabbe, who was becoming more reckless.
Stop! Malfoy shouted at Crabbe, his voice echoing through the enormous room. The Dark Lord wants him alive! So? I'm not killing him, am I? Yelled Crabbe, throwing off Malfoy's restraining arm. But if I can, I will. The Dark Lord wants him dead anyway. What's the A jet of scarlet light shot past Harry by inches. Hermione had run round the corner behind him and sent a stunning spell straight at Crabbe's head. It only missed because Malfoy pulled him out of the way. Is that mudblood? Avada Kedavra! Harry saw Hermione dive aside, and his fury that Crabbe had aimed to kill wiped all else from his mind. He shot a stunning spell at Crabbe, who lurched out of the way, knocking Malfoy's wand out of his hand. It rolled out of sight beneath a mountain of broken furniture and boxes. Don't kill him! Don't kill him! Malfoy yelled at Crabbe and Goyle, who were both aiming at Harry. Their split second's hesitation was all Harry needed. Expelliarmus! Goyle's wand flew out of his hand and disappeared into the bullock of objects beside him. Goyle leapt foolishly on the spot, trying to retrieve it. Malfoy jumped out of range of Hermione's second stunning spell, and Ron, appearing suddenly at the end of the aisle, shot a full body-bind curse at Crabbe, which narrowly missed. Crabbe wheeled round and screamed, "Avada Kedavra!" again. Ron leapt out of sight to avoid the jet of green light. The wandless Malfoy cowered behind a three-legged wardrobe as Hermione charged towards them, hitting Goyle with a stunning spell as she came. "It's somewhere here!" Harry yelled at her, pointing at the pile of junk into which the old tiara had fallen. "Look for it while I go and help Harry!" she screamed. A roaring, billowing noise behind him gave him a moment's warning. He turned and saw both Ron and Crabbe running as hard as they could up the aisle towards them. "Like it hot, scum!" roared Crabbe as he ran. But he seemed to have no control over what he had done. Flames of abnormal size were pursuing them, licking up the sides of the junk bullocks, which were crumbling to soot at their touch. "Aguamenti!" Harry bawled, but the jet of water that soared from the tip of his wand evaporated in the air. "Run!" Malfoy grabbed the stunned Goyle and dragged him along. Crabbe outstripped all of them, now looking terrified. Harry, Ron and Hermione pelted along in his wake, and the fire pursued them. It was not normal fire. Crabbe had used a curse of which Harry had no knowledge. As they turned a corner, the flames chased them as though they were alive, sentient, intent upon killing them. Now the fire was mutating, forming a gigantic pack of fiery beasts. Flaming serpents, chimeras and dragons rose and fell and rose again, and the detritus of centuries on which they were feeding was thrown up in the air into their fanged mouths, tossed high on clawed feet before being consumed by the inferno. Malfoy, Crabbe and Goyle had vanished from view. Harry, Ron and Hermione stopped dead. The fiery monsters were circling them, drawing closer and closer. Claws and horns and tails lashed, and the heat was solid as a wall around them. "What can we do?" Hermione screamed over the deafening roars of the fire. "What can we do?" "Here!" Harry seized a pair of heavy-looking broomsticks from the nearest pile of junk and threw one to Ron, who pulled Hermione onto it behind him. Harry swung his leg over the second broom, and, with hard kicks to the ground, they soared up into the air, missing by feet the horned beak of a flaming raptor that snapped its jaws at them. The smoke and heat were becoming overwhelming. Below them, the cursed fire was consuming the contraband of generations of hunted students, the guilty outcomes of 1,000 banned experiments, the secrets of the countless souls who had sought refuge in the room. Harry could not see a trace of Malfoy, Crabbe or Goyle anywhere. He swooped as low as he dared over the marauding monsters of flame to try to find them, but there was nothing but fire. What a terrible way to die. He had never wanted this. "Harry, let's get out! Let's get out!"
bellowed Ron, though it was impossible to see where the door was through the black smoke. And then Harry heard a thin, piteous human scream from amidst the terrible commotion, the thunder of devouring flame. "It's too dangerous!" Ron yelled, but Harry wheeled in the air, his glasses giving his eyes some small protection from the smoke. He raked the firestorm below, seeking a sign of life, a limb or a face that was not yet charred like wood. And he saw them. Malfoy with his arms around the unconscious Goyle, the pair of them perched on a fragile tower of charred desks. And Harry dived. Malfoy saw him coming and raised one arm, but even as Harry grasped it, he knew at once that it was no good. Goyle was too heavy, and Malfoy's hand, covered in sweat, slid instantly out of Harry's. "If we die for them, I'll kill you, Harry!" roared Ron's voice. And as a great flaming chimera bore down upon them, he and Hermione dragged Goyle onto their broom and rose, rolling and pitching into the air once more as Malfoy clambered up behind Harry. "The door! Get to the door! The door!" screamed Malfoy in Harry's ear, and Harry sped up, following Ron, Hermione, and Goyle through the billowing black smoke, hardly able to breathe. And all around them, the last few objects unburned by the devouring flames were flung into the air as the creatures of the cursed fire cast them high in celebration, cups and shields, a sparkling necklace, and an old, discoloured tiara. "What are you doing? What are you doing? The door's that way!" screamed Malfoy, but Harry made a hairpin swerve and dived. The diadem seemed to fall in slow motion, turning and glittering as it dropped towards the maw of a yawning serpent, and then he had it, caught it around his wrist. Harry swerved again as the serpent lunged at him. He soared upwards and straight towards the place where, he prayed, the door stood open. Ron, Hermione, and Goyle had vanished. Malfoy was screaming and holding Harry so tightly it hurt. Then, through the smoke, Harry saw a rectangular patch on the wall and steered the broom at it. And moments later, clean air filled his lungs, and they collided with the wall in the corridor beyond. Malfoy fell off the broom and lay face down, gasping, coughing, and retching. Harry rolled over and sat up. The door to the room of requirement had vanished, and Ron and Hermione sat panting on the floor beside Goyle, who was still unconscious. "Crab!" choked Malfoy as soon as he could speak. "Crab!" "He's dead," said Ron harshly. There was silence apart from panting and coughing. Later, Harry, Hermione, and Ron saw Draco begging a Death Eater to show he was on their side. In the heat of the moment, Harry stunned the Death Eater to protect them. Afterward, Ron hit Draco and called him a two-faced bastard, pointing out that it was the second time they had saved his life that night. Even though Draco didn't realize it, when he disarmed Dumbledore before his death and took control of the Elder Wand, it played a key role in Voldemort's defeat by Harry. Voldemort didn't fully grasp how the Elder Wand worked, and when Harry disarmed Draco, he became the true master of the wand. After Voldemort was defeated, Draco and his parents sat in the Great Hall, feeling unsure about their place during the celebration of victory. Draco's teenage years completely transformed his life. His beliefs, shaped by his upbringing, were challenged in terrifying ways. He faced fear and despair, saw his parents suffer because of their choices, and watched as everything his family stood for began to fall apart. In the end, Draco and his family escaped imprisonment in Azkaban by switching sides at the last moment. Lucius, though still caring towards his son, found that Draco no longer wanted to uphold the old pure blood traditions. Draco eventually married Astoria Greengrass, the younger sister of his Slytherin classmate, Daphne. Astoria had also moved away from pure blood beliefs to embrace a more accepting and tolerant attitude, although her journey was less intense than Draco's. This choice disappointed Lucius and Narcissa. Draco and Astoria had a son named Scorpius Malfoy. Astoria taught Scorpius to treat Muggles and Muggleborns with respect rather than looking down on them. This difference in beliefs created tension during family gatherings. Draco aimed to raise Scorpius to be a kinder and more accepting person than he had been when he was younger. On September 1st, 2017, Draco Malfoy was at King's Cross Station to send his son off for his first year at Hogwarts. He acknowledged Harry, Ron, Hermione, and Ginny with a brief nod. Although Draco's relationship with Harry had improved since their school days, they were still far from being friends. Draco lived at Malfoy Manor with his wife and son and did not need to work because he was independently wealthy. Draco had a variety of hobbies that reflected his complex personality. He carefully maintained his family's old collection of dark artifacts, which he kept safely displayed in glass cases and never used. Additionally, he enjoyed studying alchemical manuscripts. These interests showed that he was not just focused on his wealth. They hinted at a deeper desire for knowledge and meaning beyond material possessions. In the summer before Scorpius's third year at Hogwarts, his mother, Astoria, tragically succumbed to her blood malediction, leaving Draco and their son heartbroken. Afterwards, Draco was given a true time-turner that had been passed down from his father. Although he was encouraged to use it to go back in time to see Astoria again, Draco chose not to, fully aware of the potential damage it could cause to the fabric of reality. In a different timeline, accidentally created by Scorpius and his friend Albus Potter, Draco teamed up with some of his old enemies. They traveled back in time together to St. Jerome's Church to confront Delphine. Their mission was to stop her from interfering with the events that led to Lord Voldemort's death.